So we're going to be focusing on what do solutions architects do on a day-to-day basis? That's a big question from you. But before we start, I have a question for the audience. What sort of solution architect do you want to be? If you already know. If you are not sure, that's fine. But really, keen to hear about the kind of, solution architecture job you want to do. There's multiple out there. Okay, so we've got infrastructure solution architects. Okay. Cloud solution architects. All right. Anything else? Application modernization, that is quite specific. Generalist, okay. Infrastructure migration, okay. These are also specific. Infrastructure as a service, helping people, okay. Generalist, okay. All right, thanks, guys. The reason why I asked the question is because in the organizations that you will be applying for, obviously there will be job specifications on their website, and it's important to differentiate, the keywords to understand what sort of solution architect this job is. And in my experience, for example, you have the core solutions architect, also the partner solutions architect. I put them in the same brackets, but these guys are generalist solutions architects. All right. So some people mention generalist. That's a type of solution architect. Okay. Now you also have the specialist solutions architect. Someone mentioned app modernization. Someone mentioned their database specialty solution architects. Anything else? Big data. All right. These are specific domain of expertise. All right. So these guys don't need to know about all of the different domains, but just one. And there's other types of solutions architects who belong to professional services. Typically, they come at the end when the customer already knows that they're going to be moving forward with your technology. Okay, so what we're going to do for all of these roles, we're going to be talking about who is your audience. We're going to be talking about what's your role, what's your scope, your coverage, the technical breadth that you need to have, the activities that you're going to be covering, and also how do you develop yourself. Okay. Now, what we are showing here is not just AWS. Again, you're going to find this in multiple organizations. Okay. And the goal is to help you to make a decision on where you want to go. So first of all, in terms of audience, it's pretty much similar across the board here. Typically, we talk to the C-levels, vice presidents, heads, directors, managers, team leads, architects. Now, depending on the size of the organization, if your customer has more than 50,000 people or 100,000 people, it's unlikely that you're going to be talking to the C-suite because they have other people beneath them that can have those conversations with you. In terms of your role, for the core SAs and the specialist solutions architects, we are a customer advisor. Your role is to understand their midterm goals, their long-term goals, like what the company is going to look like in 3 years, and you are the person who is going to help them aligning the right technology to help them meet their business outcomes, because ultimately this is what they want to do. Okay, so you're here to support with technology. Now, specific to the core solutions architect and the partner solutions architect, typically you will be dedicated to one account or multiple accounts. Okay, so an account being a customer. When you join, then they will tell you which accounts you're going to be covering. Sometimes you already know upfront. Sometimes, for example, you know that you will be joining ISV, independent software vendor. Could be the case they give you one account, could be the case they give you multiple accounts. What's going to be the factor to define how many accounts you're going to be covering is the size of the accounts. Okay, technical breadth. Core solutions architects, partner solutions architects, the generalist solutions architects, they cannot know everything. If we take Amazon Web Services with more than 200 services, we can't keep up. We can't keep up because, first of all, it's too many services, but also every week, every day, there's something new about them. So we just keeping up to date with all of these services would require a full-time job, in my opinion. So in terms of technical expertise, we try to cover as much as we can. Okay. The majority of the services, if you know them, 200, meaning you can talk at the business level, technical level, and you can slightly dive deep. That's great. If some of them, for example, you can know them at 300, maybe 3, 4 services at 300, that's really good. The more, the better. And 300 is basically when you can actually dive deep in the technology. Like you have seen the service on the console, you have interacted with it, a little bit of hands-on. You can be very credible at a technical level on that service, on that product. Now, the specialist solutions architects, what's the difference? Again, the people who mentioned the application, modernization, big data. So typically the specialist solutions architects work across multiple accounts. Okay, if I need a specialist in machine learning because I don't have enough knowledge on machine learning, or I cannot talk at the same level as a data scientist, for example, then I need a specialist. In terms of their technical knowledge, because they are specialists, they are expected to be really good on a specific domain. All right. So typically these guys, they are at 300 plus. Okay. So they know how to talk about the service in really good details. They have played with the service or the set of services. In terms of how many domains can they know? 3 domains, maybe more domains. But in my experience, yeah, two or three domains. If it's 1, it's fine as well. It also depends on the experience of the solutions architect, of course. Now, in terms of the activities, what do? We enable the customer on our technology. The core solution architect can do it on his own, on our own, if they are comfortable with the service, or again, you do that with the specialist solution architect. So first, enablement. We can also do workshops with them. So workshops, we go in a room with the customer, we spend half a day, for example, and we're going to be covering, their vision and how we're going to map their vision to the AWS capabilities. All right. And I'm saying AWS, to be fair, in other organizations, it will work pretty similarly. Let me just check the question that is there. Is it possible to join AWS as a SA? It's in, as for example, cloud support engineer. Yes, absolutely. There's a large number of people who do that. Actually, it's quite common to see people from support who become solutions architect. So going back to the activities, architecture reviews. The customer, they have this architecture, and at some point they could have some concerns around how the workload is going to restart in another region, maybe because they are changing their contract with their customers and they're increasing their SLAs, their service level agreements. If they say it's going to be 5 lines, for example, then we can give our opinion and make recommendations on how the architecture can be reviewed. I conduct some of these sessions myself, for example, but sometimes when the architecture is really, really complex with sets of services that I'm not familiar with or I'm not comfortable with, I bring a specialist solutions architect. Okay. We also speak at events. You may have seen a lot of the solutions architects talking at reInvent, for example. We also talk for webinars. We also do partner events. Prasad will be very familiar with the partner events. Prasad is one of the partner solutions architects. So he will speak at their events, for example. He will help them with enablements, stuff that is focused on partners. Universities, I know that Jamila has been talking to some universities, for example, to talk to the future generation, right? So they can understand what are the roles out there and what is it that they can become tomorrow. Okay, so what's next? Still in terms of the activities, in terms of hands-on, what do we do? Because I know some people sometimes ask, do you guys code or, okay, so what do? We do proof of concepts. The generalist, specialist solutions architects, they can do proof of concepts depending on how hands-on they are with a specific set of technology. Specialists, typically, they are hands-on. Demos, yeah, you can do a demo for a customer, and also hands-on workshops. So hands-on workshops, those can be 2 hours, 3 hours. You bring maybe 15 people on the customer side, maybe 60 people on the customer side, whatever you can manage. And they're going to do some hands-on exercises that you will be leading. So you go through with the customer and they can ask specific questions. Okay. And finally, in terms of development, part of our job is also to learn new things, and we do that during our own time. We're also paid. You will be also paid to learn new things, to stay up to date with what is new. So learn new topics, take certifications, as many as you can. To be honest, there's no limit. If you're interested even in specific topics, go ahead. Now, let's talk about the professional services. In general, they tend to arrive at the end once the customer is convinced that you have the right technology to help them meet their business outcomes. Again, they are also customer advisors, because the moment you talk to them, to the moment things have to be implemented, there will be plenty of ideas, brainstorming, and professional services, they are really good at scoping, okay, what do we need to do, how the architecture is going to look like, and how this architecture is going to be implemented. They also train the customer in implementing that solution on their own, or they will get paid to implement for the customer. So that's why I put also understand mid-term, long-term business outcomes, support the technology, hands-on implementation. They do all of that on the delivery side. Okay. Now, typically, based on their capacity, they will be allocated to your customer. Okay. They also work with partners to develop technical expertise and capacity. Okay. And finally, in terms of technical expertise, 200 and 400. They are really technical folks because of all of the hands-on experience, the troubleshooting that they can do. Specialists as well, they can be very, they can be knowledgeable on 400. But the professional services, because they implement on the customer side, they have to know some 400 level, because the moment they will be implementing the solution on the customer side, if things break, the customer is going to be looking at them like, what do we do? They have to know how to fix the issues. In terms of the activities, same as core essays, specialist essays. They can do workshops, do enablement sessions, architecture reviews, design and implement solutions to a statement of works and demos. All right. So when they design and they implement a solution, they respond to a statement of work. So first of all, they sit down with the customer, they understand what needs to be built. A statement of work, which is a document that states what needs to be done, is created. And then they will go ahead, putting the plan in place in regards to what needs to be done. There's a project manager typically that is assigned, and then they will work towards implementing that solution on the customer environment. James, I'm going to put you on the screen just to have your perspective as well. James is a CIA, which is a cloud infrastructure architect. Is very specific to Amazon Web Services, but you will find professional services in most of the organizations that you will be working for.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone's just put a really good question in the chat actually about do professional services ever coordinate with specialty SAs? And we absolutely do. So within professional services, each of us have our own area of expertise or interest. But if we're working with a customer and maybe they're doing something specific that we don't have that specific knowledge in, then yes, we would speak to the specialist. So yeah, there's a lot of collaboration between all of these three domains in AWS. And I find they do sound very similar, the SA roles and the professional services role. And I think the key one is the activities, really. So professional services tend to get a bit more hands-on and actually deliver systems for our customers. Whereas I think SAs are, and Chris, call me out here if I'm wrong, but I think SAs are a bit more like guiding the direction of customers and the technology that customers are going to use and guiding their decisions. And then maybe professional services come in to actually do the work and then a bit more hands-on. Yeah. We have like DevOps consultants, we have security consultants, we have big data consultants, for example. So there are specialisms, but professional services tends to be a bit more generic. So my role as a cloud infrastructure architect is very, very generalist. I could work on almost anything. Like I say, professional services tend to be a bit more hands-on, whereas SAs are a bit more demos, proof of concepts, workshops, things that may not necessarily go into production.
Yeah. And typically professional services are resources that customer pay for.
We get a statement of work and we work on that statement of work, whereas the SA role is a bit more free, possibly the right word, Chris, maybe. Like you're a bit more free to kind of try new things and do different things and kind of do proof of concepts and deliver value for your customer, whatever your customer is doing. Whereas I'm given, here's a statement of work and go and build it.